My name is Marvin John Heemeyer. I was born October 28th, 1951. Today is June 4th, 2004. If you're seeing this, I went through with it. I am dead. I gave everybody a chance to hear me out, yet nobody listened to me. Not one chance. You gave me no chance to appeal. I played by the rules. I hired lawyers. I went to court, yet you gave me no chance. I'm not enraged. I'm not mad. You just made your choice, and I made mine. I was willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things.
Marvin John Heemeyer was born in 1951 in South Dakota. He was a talented welder, a veteran of the United States Air Force, and moved to Colorado in the 1970s to start fresh. By 1989, he had settled in Grand Lake, near Granby, a quiet mountain town nestled in the Rockies. He quickly became known as a generous, outdoorsy, and well-liked person. He spent winters snowmobiling with friends and was always quick to lend a hand, but he also had a very stubborn and prideful streak. He believed in doing things his way and wasn't afraid to push back when he felt his world was wrong. Not long after moving in, Marvin launched a local campaign to legalize gambling in Grant County. He believed it would boost the economy, but others saw it as a threat to the town's values. His strongest opposition came from the local Catholic Church, and that's where things got heated. It wouldn't be the last time Marvin would find himself at odds with his neighbors. In 1992, Marvin would buy a 2-acre plot of land near Granby at a foreclosure auction for $40,000. He intended to build his own muffler shop, Mountain View Muffler. At the auction, Marvin was confronted by a man named Cody Dozered, whose family used to own the land for a concrete business. Cody offered Marvin double what he had just paid, but Marvin refused. He believed the land was his future and wasn't going to let it go. Marvin would open his muffler shop not long after. Mountain View Muffler quickly gained a reputation for quality work, especially in his welding. Locals said he treated customers fairly and often did small repairs for free. He wasn't just making a living, he was building something of his own. But buried underneath the shop was the start of his future downfall. The land Marvin had no connection to the town's sewer system. To avoid the cost of proper installation, Marvin utilized an old cement drum buried underground and used it as a makeshift septic tank. It worked, kind of, until the Granby Sanitation District found out about it. They told him to shut it down and connect it legally, but Marvin refused. He believed he was being extorted, and that this dispute would grow into a major legal battle. Then, 5 years after the auction, Cody Dozered came back again. This time, he wanted Marvin's land for a new concrete batch plant. At first, Marvin agreed and asked for $250,000. But by the time Cody had scraped that money together, Marvin had raised the price to $375,000, and then again to $450,000. Eventually, he would stop naming a price at all. To Marvin, the land wasn't just a business anymore, it was about his pride.
Alright, what do you want, Cody?
Alright, Marv, I've got your money. Let's settle this.
I've had the property appraised. I want $300,000 now.
That's ridiculous. I was barely able to scrape by with this money, and now you want more?
You know what? Just for that, I want $400,000 now.
You know what? I'm done with you. I'm talking to the zoning board.
Get out.
He ended up going to Granby Municipal Court. Judge Noriyuki was presiding. She said, "We find you in violation. We're going to give you a deferred judgment, however. And you can't use the property for anything until you're hooked up to water and sewer."
The town contacts him and says, "We're going to fine you $100 a day because you're operating a business and you're not hooked up to the sewer."
Marv wrote a check to the town, and he wrote on the memo line, "Cowards and Liars Department." And at insult to injury, they sent it back and said, "The amount is incorrect." Well, this clearly angered Marv. He shows up at the town hall.
They kept finding him because he was the out-of-towner. He came up here in small town.
In Marv's mind, this was just another example of the town not treating him fairly.
The Dochefs were moving forward with their proposal. Suddenly Marv shows up with an attorney, and then he's saying, "I think that we've caught you in a mistake." The town board was stunned. They called an executive session, kicked everybody out. They said, "Well, we're going to put everything on hold until we can decide what we're going to do."
The attorney made us be very dot the I's, cross the T's. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we did, we were right on the money with.
They came back and said, "We're going to let them restart from square one so that we can do it right this time." As a last-ditch effort, Marv filed a lawsuit in district court. But the Dochefs, they're serious about building this batch plant as quickly as possible. They're moving forward as if there's not any barrier to their progress at all. There's heavy equipment operating at the soon-to-be batch plant site. Marv is sitting here watching all this happening, and I think he's just stewing about it.
And by 2002, Marvin will give up his fight. He would sell the shop and the land to the trash company, a trash company in Granby, for $400,000, nearly 10 times what he originally paid for it in 1992. He would walk away from the business he had built. Most people would assume that that was the end of it. However, what most people did not know is that Marvin would actually lease out a corner of the shop to himself. He would create a wall between his section and the rest of the shop, where he kept the small section of the shop with just enough space to work. Around that same time, he would go all the way to California to purchase a Komatsu D355A bulldozer at auction. After that, Marvin would go completely quiet. He stopped attending meetings, he stopped arguing with the town. To most people, most would assume that he just left. For the next year and a half, Marvin would live in the back of his shop illegally, setting up a small living quarters. Alone in secret, he began modifying the bulldozer. During that time, Marvin would create a monstrosity. The machine's outer shell was layered in composite armor, 2 sheets of half-inch steel sandwiching a thick layer of concrete mix poured between them. This made the walls capable of withstanding small arms fire, explosives, and even heavy armor-piercing rounds. Marvin knew visibility would be his greatest weakness, so he installed multiple cameras around the dozer's exterior, each one shielded with 3 inches of bulletproof plexiglass, with their own pressurized air blowers in front of each of them to clear dust and debris. Inside the cockpit, the feed from each camera was displayed on 2 CRT monitors, giving him a decent field of awareness around him. The cabin was fully sealed and pressurized. He even rigged up an air filtration system with air conditioning designed to keep dust, smoke, and tear gas out while keeping him cool at the same time. For offense, Marvin installed gun ports in strategic locations, allowing him to fire a 50 caliber sniper rifle, a .223 Remington rifle, and .22 long rifle from inside, all while remaining completely protected. During the construction, few friends would even come to pay a visit to him, none of them batting a single eye to the single massive armored bulldozer being constructed in front of them.
Haven't seen you in a while, Marv. Most people here just thought you up and left. What's this, Marv? Another project you're keeping a secret?
Not much. Something I just got for landscaping, but I've been trying to sell it, and it hasn't been working.
Well, alright.
So here we are, and I am at peace with what I am about to do. People will say, why did he do that? He had such a good life. He had a better life than me anyway. It's not what I deserve. You meddled in my business and took what I deserved away. You took advantage of my good nature. Well, I think there's something you should learn here. For as good as a man can be, also can he be as bad. When you visit evil upon someone, be assured it will revisit you. It took all of you 10 years to get me. You got me, no doubt about it. I got screwed big time. Enough is enough. I have been beaten to a point where I'm not going to take it anymore. But I don't think that's what God had planned for me. And he expects me to do something to those who kept me now from getting what I deserve. God's will be done through me. You were cowards in the way that you dealt with me. You all along were thinking that I was the person that needed to be taught a lesson. You were going to show me how it worked in Grandview, Colorado, how the real world worked. You people needed to be taught a lesson.
What's your emergency?
This is Sherry at the trash company. And there is a bulldozer over at Mount Pleasant Concrete destroying their building.
It's destroying the building? Okay.
Yes.
Is anyone on it?
Yeah, it's all encased in metal, and you can't see who's driving or anything. They can't get it to stop.
Marcia came across the radio. She was screaming. She said, Cody, Cody. Man, I went running over. Then he just turned the dozer and headed for the batch plant.
911, what is your emergency?
Hi, this is Sherry at the trash company again.
Yeah.
It is headed for their main building right now.
Headed for the main building. Okay.
Cody had grabbed a handgun from one of his workers.
Bob Howard gave it to me. He said, be careful, it's loaded. I said, good.
Takes the gun up and bang, bang. Not only is the diesel engine screaming as it's pushing the dozer, but the treads, they're creaking and scraping. There's the roar of the engine, and then there's just the sound of crash and ruin, because he's really knocking all these walls down.
The tracks are probably the most memorable thing. Our goal was to get the heaviest thing we could pack by hand, because if you can get tangled up in some steel, you're going to stop that track. We got a big piece of angle iron alpha Cody Dozered steel wrap. It was probably 1/2-inch diameter, so it was really heavy. Our intentions was to try to lodge that into the tracks and get it tangled up so it'd break the track. That didn't work.
Then I tried getting up on the machine, the ripper, the back end of it. What was I going to do? I don't know. I kept sliding off. I couldn't get up there. I kept sliding off. It was full of like Vaseline, grease. What are you going to do? Try to stop him somehow.
We have a very armored situation at St. Dozered.
When I copy, there's an armored bulldozer carrying down the building. There are several.
This was, these pictures were taken, again, this is fast forward, but these pictures were taken at about 4 o'clock or so. This would have been about an hour into the rampage. And you can see the armor plate on the side of that. It didn't seem to matter what police officers did with the rifles and such, and they could not pierce it. This was an earth scraper they moved in to try to do some combat, to try to in some way immobilize the scraper. Almost got to where he was turning it over at that point there, but the scraper is just no match for the cat there, the Caterpillar turned tank.
Hey, if you're just joining us, it's now 5 o'clock. This is News 4 at 5. This story's been developing since about 3 o'clock. This is file tape of a man who's got into some bulldozer that he's made into a makeshift armored covered bulldozer, and he's damaged or destroyed 6 buildings in Granby, a town of about 1,500, about 50 miles west of Denver in Grand County. So far, we're hearing no one's been injured, but that has not been confirmed.
As the destruction continued, panic spread far beyond Granby. Local law enforcement were overwhelmed. SWAT teams couldn't get close, and Marvin's machine was just too powerful. According to the reports, some official, some rumored, Governor Bill Owens was contacted about the escalating situation. In at least one telling of a story, Owens briefly considered authorizing a National Guard Apache attack helicopter to fire a Hellfire missile at the bulldozer. Ultimately, the strike was never ordered. The risks to nearby civilians and buildings was too great, and perhaps more than that, no one could quite believe what they were witnessing.
Governor Owens, the bulldozer just leveled the town hall.
That thing's still out there? Why haven't they stopped it yet?
Governor, how do we approach this?
Get Buckley Air Base on the line. I want an Apache helicopter in the air now.
Yes, General. An Apache helicopter. Yes, a Hellfire missile will do.
But sir, the missile will do more harm than good. Think about the collateral damage.
You're right. Call off the strike.
Now, if you'll stay with us, he has just headed westbound again. This is tape. He has just again headed westbound into the downtown area. Right there, may have taken out a radiator. He doesn't stop for light poles. He doesn't stop for buildings. He takes out the corner of the Copycat store. Again, this is right in downtown Granby. And then the Gamble store next to this became another prime target. He backed up. While the radiator's smoking, while he has any power left, he's going to attack that Gamble's appliance store. Many of the stores, the buildings, the offices that we have seen him take out apparently seem to have some rhyme or reason to him, some kind of history, some kind of ongoing gripe that were part of his problem with the city officials and some of the other business owners in Granby. He's going to turn around here and make one last stand and shove that Caterpillar into the Gamble's appliance store. And he is going to make one last stand, go over the curb, and start punching his way into the Gamble store and into the back of that. When we left the area of Granby about 20 minutes ago, he had wedged himself in the back end of this store, and apparently had taken out the radiator, and he had become immobilized, and we had SWAT team members trying to figure out how to get inside the Caterpillar.
And is that where it stands right now, Lou? Have they gotten inside? Do you know?
We don't know. We haven't been able to communicate with our crew on the ground up here. You can see he just is deliberate and determined, and nothing will stop him except his own equipment.
The county had gotten a belly scraper out. They pulled that in behind to block his way. Having worked in the gamble store, I knew what a lot of people didn't know, and that's that there was a basement in there.
So he took a run at gambles, not realizing that the right-hand side track would go into the basement, and that left him stuck, unable to move.
This is the first time he's actually stopped and the machine shut down. But we don't know what he's doing, so we pulled everybody back.
Deploying, confirm your location.
Right now, the Dozered isn't gambles or what used to be gambles.
Big gamble, 1629.
One of the radio transmissions of the time is, get ready for a gunfight, because where else are we going with this? It just figures we've gone this far. Now it's, does somebody pop out of it? Does it just fire from its position?
Grand 24.
We started to pair up people and get some tactical advantage.
And it was a short time after that, a gunshot was heard.
See